The insult done to us is grievous, yet still I smile. Why? I smile because Nurgle's gifts are inescapable, because the walking pox claims all, and because soon our enemies will be smiling too, and far less willingly than I. Today, let's talk tactics on War of the Spider, Death Guard.
Anvil of War! Let's talk tactics!
What's up, guys? We're here today to talk to you. It's finally here! War of the Spider, but Death Guard. And I know we talk tactics normally on a different unit, but today we're going to be talking about how the new rules from the War of the Spider supplement are changing the way the Death Guard Legion works, and some of my favorite tactics, some of my favorite stratagems, some of my favorite relics, some of my favorite plague companies. There's lots going on in this book, and I'm really excited to kind of dive in and tell you some of my favorite bits, because there's a lot to cover, and I'm not going to do all of it. So let's dive in and look at some of the changes to the Death Guard Legion. So as with all the Psychic Awakenings, we kind of feel a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit more updated right on the eve of 8th edition. Obviously, this Psychic Awakening book is giving us stuff that all of the other legions have. Things like Malicious Volleys, Hateful Assault, a lot of the things that, just made all the Space Marine chapters a little bit stronger in 8th edition near the end of it. It also gave us a bunch of new relics. It gave us a bunch of new stratagems, 3 pages of them. And it gave us 7 different plague companies. So how these work, let's dive in right now. In the new Psychic Awakening for War of the Spider, Death Guard now have access to the 7 different plague companies. Now, what that is you basically give each detachment a keyword. They're all going to be from the same plague company. And in doing so, you get access to a unique warlord trait, a unique relic, and 2 unique stratagems. Now, keeping in mind there is 3 full pages of stratagems in here that all of the different plague companies have, which is great because Death Guard only had like the 2 pages of pretty basic stuff back in the Codex, and keeping in mind like our Codex came out at the start of 8th edition, so it's kind of nice that we're getting an update right at the end, but on the eve of 9th edition, thankfully this book will carry over into the next edition. So I'm not going to talk to you guys about everything that's in this book because there's a lot, and I really think any true Death Guard player, you should get this book because there's a lot to play with, there's a lot to try, and there's a lot to go with. But we're going to go with some of my favorite choices in the book as well as some of the more competitive stuff. So if you guys are into tournament play, when there's tournaments again, obviously you can use some of these stuff, and hopefully it carries over well into the new edition. So at the start of it all, there is 6 relics. We still have access to our original relics in the Codex. We have access to our original warlord traits. But there's some really cool relics here, and I'm going to talk about some of those now. It's more than just Chaos Lords and Demon Princes now. Like, they're giving you reasons to take your Talymans, your Noxious Blightbringers, because there's relics sort of specific to them. One of my favorite is the Demon's Toll. So a Noxious Blightbringer model takes this. Any models of friendly Death Guard units, excluding Chaos Cultists and Poxwalkers, have a 5-up invuln save when they're within 7 inches. Obviously, the Noxious Blightbringer is a classic dude from the Dark Imperium set. He never actually had a standalone kit, but he's very easy to kit bash and make your own, and I've thought about it, but I haven't done it. But this is great for your Plague Marines who are already kind of a super strong unit that don't have an invuln save. Giving them an invuln save, I mean, that's great, up to AP -2, just kind of ignoring it after that. So that's kind of interesting. I also really like the Putrid Periapt. Now this is for a Psyker model, a Demon Prince, maybe a Malignant Plague Caster. A model with this relic knows 1 additional psychic power. In each of your psychic phases, after a psychic power is resolved that was manifested with a model by this relic, that model can regain up to D3 lost wounds. That's good, especially if you're just throwing out a smite. Here's D3 wounds back. In a pinch, your Demon Princes can get themselves out of a bad situation by healing, right? And if you're still doing the soup stuff, obviously there's spells to heal demons as well. But probably my favorite relic that everybody's got access to is Wormspitter. Now, this is a model equipped with a bolt pistol. This relic replaces the bolt pistol and has the following profile. So you got a range of 15 inches, which is a little bit longer than a regular bolt pistol. At strength 5, AP2, damage 1. So that's not bad, but it's still a bolt pistol, right? Like, what's the deal? Well, it's a plague weapon, which means you get to reroll once to wound, which is good. But when resolving an attack, when resolving an attack made with this weapon, if a hit is scored, the target is corroded until the end of the turn. When resolving an attack made with a weapon by a friendly Death Guard model against a corroded unit, the weapon gains the plague weapon ability for that attack. Las cannons, bolt guns, multi-meltas, everything is going to reroll ones. And if you got something like a Knight Rampager coming at you, you know, you got some kind of crazy melee unit or a tough vehicle or even just a unit of infantry, right? Rerolling ones to wound on a weapon that doesn't have it, that's incredible. And I really like Worm Spitter. I think it'd be really good on a Chaos Lord, or you could take it on a Malignant Plague Caster, because those guys are also really good too. So that's kind of the Relics of Decay. Obviously there's a couple more, but I'll let you guys kind of assess those yourselves. I thought it would be a little bit thematic to do 7 of my favorite stratagems. So we're going to pick 7 of some of my favorite things in here. And we're going to start off with Plague Chosen. So I found a lot of these stratagems are only 1 CP, which is cheap. And the return is really strong on them. So like most armies, a lot of guys now are rocking multiple warlord traits, and a lot of that is just like field commander. You know, you pay a command point and you get an additional warlord trait on a different character. Well, we have that now too. It's called Plague Chosen. Choose a Death Guard character in your army that does not have a warlord trait and determine a warlord trait for it. It is regarded as your warlord for the purposes of that warlord trait. Each warlord trait in your army must be unique. So, you know, with the different plague companies, you have access to 7 unique warlord traits that we didn't have before, but that's not to say that Revolting and Resilient and Arc Contaminator and some of the stuff from the Codex aren't still strong, and you might want to include those on a guy that doesn't count as your warlord. So, you know, you can get that Beat Stick Demon Prince. You could get just that buffing dude that's rerolling wounds with Arc Contaminator. Or you can just try out some of the new warlord traits. So I really like Harbinger of Nurgle. This is, again, a 1 CP stratagem. And use this stratagem before the battle. Select 1 Lord of Contagion unit from your army until the end of the battle. That unit has the following ability. Reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by models in friendly Death Guard units while they're within 6 inches of this model. That means your Lord of Contagions are now Chaos Lords, which I always thought it was a bit strange that they were just kind of these guys with no real, you know, commanding ability over their men. So now they get to reroll ones, which is great, because now you want to deep strike them with your Terminators. You want to have them in the mix with your Plague Marines. You know, you want to buff Poxwalkers, if you will. But I'm waiting on an FAQ to know if I can spend this on Typhus, because Typhus is a Lord of Contagion. He has that as a keyword, and that would complete the puzzle for me, because Typhus never had an aura like all of the other mortal champions. So I'm really holding out for Typhus being able to reroll once, but we're going to wait on an FAQ from that, because I don't know if it means Lord of Contagion as in the unit name, or if we're going off the keywords in the profile. But stay tuned. You know, I really wish they would have just gave us a stratagem for a Chaos Lord to get Disgusting Resilient and maybe +1 toughness. I probably would have spent a command point on that too, because they certainly feel out of place in a Death Guard army still. But you know, Harbinger of Nurgle is pretty good. We'll take it, and we'll see what happens. We got Foul Gush. This is another one, 1 CP. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase when a Foul Blightspawn model from your army is chosen to shoot with. Until the end of that phase, when rolling to determine the number of attacks made with a Plague Sprayer, you may roll an additional d6 and discard. In addition, at the end of that phase, when rolling to determine the strength characteristic of that weapon, roll 1 additional d6 and discard the dice. So this is great for getting more shots, you know, and potentially higher strength on your Foul Blightspawn, which are always very swingy, but if they swing hard, it's felt. We got some more fun stuff. I like Trench Fighters. Trench Fighters is another 1 CP stratagem. Plague Marines from your army chosen to fight with. Until the end of that phase, when a model with that unit fights, if it's equipped with 1 or more Plague Knives, it can make 1 additional attack with 1 Plague Knife. That means your Plague Marines can have up to 4 attacks in the fight phase, obviously with Hateful Assault. And, being Plague weapons, there's ways to buff them too. So that's a really good one. There's some fun ones at the back here. I like Contaminated Monstrosity. That's 1 CP. So use the stratagem before the battle. Select a Death Guard unit, excluding Chaos Cultists and Titanic units from your army, with a wounds characteristic or 12 or less for 1 CP. So I'm looking at Predators or Rhinos for that. Or 13 or more for 2 CP. So you're talking Land Raiders, you're talking Defilers. Until the end of the battle, that unit does not have the if that unit does not have the Disgusting Resilient ability, it gains the Disgusting Resilient ability. So it maybe gives your Defiler or your Land Raider, it gives it that Death Guard feel. So your conversion, you've put some hard Nurgling into that. You can make it feel like a Nurgle unit in your army, and I think that's kind of cool. Some other stuff that I liked this one, Parasitic Fumes. Use this stratagem at the end of your movement phase. Select one of your Mephitic Blight Hauler units from your army. Until the end of that turn, when an attack is allocated to an enemy model within 7 inches of that unit, improve the armor penetration characteristic of that weapon of that attack that is being made by 1. So, you can get your AP -1 Plague Knives, you can get AP -1 Bolters, you can get... Basically, if you're fighting in around the Mephitic Blight Haulers, you can get more AP. So, and I always have 3 of these guys in my army because they're fantastic little gun platforms that provide a lot of buffs to the guys around them. So, is ways to buff them and to also benefit from them. So I really enjoy them. Last one I'll talk about will be Relentless Volleys. Use the stratagem in your shooting phase when a Death Guard infantry unit from your army is chosen to shoot with. Until the end of that phase, bolt guns and the bolt gun profile of combi weapons in that unit are equipped with have a type characteristic of Rapid Fire 2. That's pretty good, especially with Hateful Volleys, right? In addition, until the end of that phase, combi bolter models in that unit are equipped with have a type characteristic of Rapid Fire 3. If this unit contains 6 or more models, the stratagem costs 2 CP. So, just bucking shots with your Blightlord Terminators, with your Plague Marines, big units of Plague Marines, because why not? You can put out a lot of fire, and when paired with Virulent Rounds, which is another 1 CP stratagem, it's getting good, guys. It's getting good. But I'm going to let you guys go over all these stratagems yourself and try them out in battles. I still have to try them out in a lot of battles. I've only had 1 game since this came out just because of COVID-19 and Nurgle's plagues racking planet Terra. But it's okay. We're going to talk about the plague companies, and I'll let you guys get into your own stratagem use on your own tabletops. So what we're going to get into next is the plague companies. There's 7 of these. These basically give a keyword to an entire detachment. And named characters like Typhus, they have their own keyword that you don't get to change. But what it does is it gives you access to 2 unique stratagems, a warlord trait, and a relic. And all of these are good. I'm going to talk about one of my favorites, one that I think is more competitive, and then just one that I think is cool. So we're going to talk about the Harbingers, which is obviously Typhus's plague company. It's the first plague company. And it's really good because it's got From the Carrion Heaps, which is a stratagem for Poxwalkers, which allows them basically to deep strike, which I think is super cool because Typhus is able to deep strike being in Terminator armor. So it just changes the entire way you might use Poxwalkers. As opposed to walking up the field, now you can spawn 40 of them, and Typhus just, right at the opponent's line, wherever that may be. Obviously, Pox Walkers are a recurring thing with the Harbingers, and obviously Typhus buffs Pox Walkers, but there's a Warlord trait. Obviously, you can pay for Plague Chosen and make someone else have the Shamble Rot Warlord trait, which is when an enemy infantry model is destroyed as a result of an attack made with a melee weapon by this Warlord, add 1 model to a friendly Harbinger's Pox Walkers unit within 7 inches of this Warlord. You must pay reinforcement points every time you do this. But that's a great way of just fixing up your Poxwalker mobs, right? Like you get a Demon Prince maybe with Shamble Rot, and he's running in, and he's helping keep that horde up, right? And as we know with 9th edition, hordes are going to have a tough go against blast weapons, so you're definitely going to be using this if you take it because you're always going to be injured, I'm pretty sure. let's talk about what I think is more competitive. So there is the Plague Legion called the Poxmongers. The only reason that these guys I think are super competitive is because they take demon engines, and we know we're going into a place where vehicles are going to be a lot stronger and better. And basically this Plague Legion allows you to take the relic, the Ironclot Furnace. Now, what this does is models in a Poxmonger's demon engine units from your army have a 4-up invuln save when they're within 7 inches of a friendly model with this relic. That's your Mephitic Blight Haulers. That's your Plagueburst Crawlers. That's your Defilers, if you want to bring them and give them the Corrupted Monstrosity, whatever thing. But a 4+ invuln, that's crazy. And this can go a really long way, especially when you have something like Biologist Blood Rush. This is another 1 CP stratagem. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase. Select one Poxmonger's Demon Engine unit from your army until the end of that phase. That unit can shoot in a turn in which it fell back. That's huge for your Plagueburst Crawlers with Plague Spitters, because they're always kind of moving forward. Eventually they get tied up. Doesn't matter. 1 CP, we just drop back. Boom. Burn them with some shots. Let's say your Mephitic Blight Haulers get tagged. It's okay. You want to get those crack missiles, those multi-melter shots off, you pay 1 CP. You know, it's not so bad. And you have a 4-up invuln save. This is a great Plague company. I see it going a long way, and, you know, in tournament play, when we get back into that kind of style of play, I can definitely see myself bringing the Ironclad Furnace. It's real strong. Last but not least, we're only going to talk about 3 of the Plague companies today. This one I just think is cool, called the Ferrymen, or the Brethren of the Fly. It boasts large numbers of Blightlord Terminators. So I love my Blightlord Terminators. I think those guys are one of the better Terminators in the game. And you can do a lot of cool stuff with them based on this. So the relic is the Ferryman's Scythe. Now this is a model equipped with a Plague Reaper only. So that's your Lord of Contagion. That's one of his War Gear options. And as we know now, Lord of Contagions can be Chaos Lords for command point. So why not give them a cool weapon too? This gives strength +4, AP -3, flat damage 3, and any unmodified wound rolls of 6 inflict a mortal wound in addition. So it's a pretty strong weapon considering he's strength 4. So strength 8, I don't know, I'd take it. 1 CP for a Ferryman stratagem of Blightlord Terminators is chosen to shoot with until the end of that phase. When resolving an attack made for a model in that unit, add 1 to the hit roll. Hitting on 2s, baby. And with rerolling 1s, with the new Chaos Lord version of a Lord of Contagion, I'm into it. They also have on Droning Wings. Select a Ferryman unit from your army until the end of turn. The range of a unit's aura ability is increased by 7 inches. That's pretty big. It can be pretty gnarly too, actually, but it's 2 CP, so it's a little bit more expensive than obviously we're used to in this book. Obviously, this is a book that's very exciting. It breathes new life into the Death Guard army. I'm super stoked to play more games with it. And, you know, for any of the Death Guard players out there who've been maybe, you know, dialing back and playing with other elements of their Chaos armies, because let's be real, Death Guard got stale about halfway through that edition without any updates. We didn't get any Vigilus. We finally have something, and there's a lot in here for us. So definitely go try to pick one up from your local gaming store. And post in the comments some of your favorite elements of, you know, is it the Plague companies? Is it some of the stratagems? Do you have a favorite relic maybe I didn't talk about? There's a lot of good stuff going on here, and I'd love to hear what you guys are using on your tabletop. If you like this video, guys, please like, share, and subscribe, as everything helps the Anvil of War channel. And we really appreciate you guys always supporting us here. So until next time.
Sponsored by...
Thank you guys for watching this week's video. If you like these kind of videos, please hit the subscribe button down below, as it really helps support the channel, and we'll see you next time.
You forgot what you were going to say.
No, it was the car going by. I was being good practice. Opponent's line, wherever that may be. I think that's cool.